We have the real big dog in the house today.
The GOAT.
Westbrook, 10 years old, looks like $1 million.
Such good shape.
Smartest dog in the family, without question.
In honor of Westbrook's phenomenal performance yesterday. Oh,
yes.
Look at this. She loves me so much.
Look at this. Oh, boy.
That's my girl. All right, let's lay down.
All right. Now you can go lay down, Westbrook. Great job.
Go take a nap.
Great job.
Good girl. You sit there.
All right.
Yeah. Good girl. I'll rub your belly. Okay.
She's a real show dog, I'll tell you what.
OG. She is a show dog. She could
show dog.
She could.
Thing's got fucking papers, dude.
You don't. His hair falls out.
You don't
board that shit.
You can see someone doesn't want to be cheered up, Donnie. Let's go get ourselves a lane.
Well, I guess we'll start with.
Yeah, I was about to say, what are we even starting with today? I didn't know.
Well, first off, to say, welcome into the show. We're at episode number 30, and so in honor of our 30th episode, if we get at least 20 comments on this show and at least 50 likes, then I will give away a jersey, but you only can qualify for the jersey if you comment on this episode. So you must comment, and if you want to be like extra helpful, you could go on Apple Podcasts and give us a 5-star review as well, because that helps us out as well.
Let Big Dog know how much you miss him on the episodes he's not here.
I don't miss him at all. In fact, I'm thrilled.
The fans.
Oh no, do not let
Big Dog has millions of fans all around the world.
No, he doesn't. He doesn't have any fans at all.
And
I don't know why.
We have KK Wild music videos dropping soon, don't we, Bailey? Okay. 7
music videos.
Give the people what they want. They've been asking for years.
Absurd.
The band's back together.
So, this is the Slobberknocker Sports Podcast, and we are in episode 30. I am your host, Coach Lieck, joined as always by my man, Uncle T, and we're going to talk some NBA playoffs. We got the NFL draft on Thursday. Scotty Scheffler wins his 3rd tournament in 4 tries. He's on fire. We had Caitlin Clark going number 1 in the draft, the WNBA draft this weekend. Tons of stuff to get to. NHL playoffs as well. So I do want to start with, as always, my San Antonio business of the week. I didn't go anywhere this week specifically that jumped out to me as like the way I did First Serve Tennis last week. But one place that I've been getting tacos at recently, actually I've been getting tacos here for a long time.
Okay.
But especially like the last year, I've gone back to this place. We went to here in high school a lot. Thousand Oaks Cafe. They've got multiple locations, obviously one on Thousand Oaks, but I go to the one on Austin Highway and Jones Maltsberger. Really good bean and cheese tacos. They're my favorite bean and cheese tacos in town, and pretty decent prices too. But yeah, go over and check out Thousand Oaks Cafe. Get yourself some tacos. The one on Austin Highway has a cool little vibe to it. It's like an old little diner type.
Yeah,
deal.
it does look like an old school diner.
But we used to call it Thousand Smokes in high school. But support San Antonio businesses. Don't buy.
You can't rip darts in there anymore, can you?
No.
That's too bad.
You know, for a while in Alamo Heights, because it was technically a different city.
Yeah, like the gyms. The gym still had the smoking, right?
I don't know about gyms. It might have. I know Line in the Rose did. That little pub on Broadway by Sorrento's. Yeah. They used to have. Because we
and then they finally Did they finally do away with it?
They did away with it, and then the Line in the Rose closed anyway. But yeah, they don't do that anymore. Anyway, get over to Thousand Oaks Cafe, get a taco, support San Antonio businesses, especially small businesses trying to make it in our town. Hopefully, I would like to do something where we continuously do some events when we get bigger. We promote some of these local businesses. But we'll move on to some sports here, and let's start, I guess, just because he's a San Antonio kid, and I know it's not something we talk about a ton on this show yet, but in the baseball realm, we had a former Alamo Heights alum who went the same school that I graduated from, Forrest Whitley, drafted, I believe he was 17th overall by the Astros back in 2016 or 17.
Yep, something like that.
I think it's 2016. I remember he was playing in the state tournament. He threw in the state semifinals and then got drafted the next an hour after the game. But, he was a top pitching prospect for a long time in the Astros organization. I think there was a feeling about 3 years ago he was going to get called up. And then he had, I believe, some sort of major injury. He had a couple other things go on and ended up just not getting up. And he finally got his first call up to the bigs. Awesome. I saw a lot of people on Facebook, a lot of my old buddies, because I actually coached Forrest in summer league basketball when he was going into his sophomore year, which is hilarious. And he was not tall and, lengthy like he is now. He kind of shot up in the middle of high school. Anyway, cool to see that. He pitched, I believe, one inning, closed out the top of the ninth inning, didn't give up any earned runs. I know he gave up a hit, but didn't give up any earned runs. Did you get to catch any of that?
I watched some of that game, and I didn't know he was coming in the pitch, so I actually missed when he pitched. I saw that he got sent right back down. He came up probably, filling us major league.
Right.
The wheels are always moving on bullpens. So, but yeah, hopefully he goes down to AAA and puts up some good numbers and gets called right back up. That'd be good. I know, lots these days pitching, there's so many guys that have their careers derailed with injury. And he's kind of one of those guys.
Yep.
A lot of promise, really good stuff, and you just never really stay healthy. So hopefully it ends up working out for him and he gets, another call up soon. So we'll see. But yeah, I'm glad he finally at least, made it up to the show. So
question for you, like in terms of baseball, especially like from a pitching perspective, he's 25, I believe, or I think he might be 26 now, but right in that realm, 25, 26. What is the age? What's like your prime age? Like, is it, I would assume it's not 18, 19 often, because that's why you don't see a lot of guys go directly to the big leagues. They have to work their way up, which is different than most sports.
For a pitcher, it's like right about now, probably.
Is his prime.
You just learn how to pitch a little bit better, in your young still. And then you kind of probably, once you hit about 30, you start tailing off at least a little bit. But there's guys that pitch well into their 30s, Right. I mean, look at Kershaw, Verlander. I mean, they Scherzer, guys that pitch for a long time, and their velo comes down, velocity comes down, but you have so much experience pitching in the big leagues that
you know how to get around batters.
Pitch. Yeah, you know how to pitch. So, in this world of baseball, it's just how hard can you throw it? What's your spin rate like? And then from there, they try to teach you how to pitch. It used to kind of be the opposite. It's like, is this guy a good pitcher? Yeah, he throws low 90, but he gets guys out. Now it's all about
how hard
spinning the ball, how hard you throw, and then they try to teach you how to pitch from that. So
that's interesting. I mean, because not all pitchers who are effective throw it at 100 miles an hour, right? I would assume. So
I mean, look, there's guys like Mariano Rivera who is considered the best closer of all time, and he threw one pitch. I mean, it was just a cutter.
Right.
Pretty much the whole time. I mean, that's all he threw. And it was, 92 miles an hour or whatever, but it's almost unhittable. I mean, it was just a pitch that was that good. So there's all kinds of different ways to do it. But now in golf and in baseball with TrackMan, it's just all about, golf. It's all about the ball speed, the spin rate, how
hit it as far as you can.
Yeah, you get your club head speed and your ball speed as high as you possibly can, and then the rest will take care of itself, and that's not always the case. Yeah. Ask Bryson DeChambeau, who just literally transformed everything in his game to hit it as far as humanly possible and bulked up like a, he was on, I don't know if he was on roids or what it was, but
he was on something.
He was eating, I think like something nuts, like 10,000 calories a day, and just working out, and all he was doing is swinging as hard as he possibly could, because the philosophy is, okay, well, if I hit it, another 20 yards past everybody, that should just give me such a big advantage. But then you lose your touch, and you're not putting or chipping as well, and there's all kinds of different things that can happen. But we've kind of entered that era in baseball too with TrackMan. That's all they really care about, these pitchers. Like, it's like high school. It's not like oh, did you go undefeated in high school? Did you not give up any runs? It's like,
how hard do you throw?
What are you doing? What are your TrackMan numbers? Oh, you're throwing 100 miles an hour, and this is your spin rate on your curveball? You're a first rounder. But the fact of the matter is, these days, every single one of those kids pretty much has Tommy John surgery at least once before they end up making it to the majors.
Does that take velocity off you no matter what? Like, if you have Tommy...
sometimes it can... It's like almost building it. Yeah, it's like almost building it back stronger. Like, it can help it, but it can also cause problems. I mean, there's all kinds of things it can do.
Sure, I bet it can cause long-term problems.
Yeah, but it's not one of those deals where, like, when you have it, your career's over. So I think that's why they don't necessarily care. It's like, we might not have him for a year, but he'll come back,
just as good or stronger.
Yeah.
Yeah, no, that's funny because when I coached a little bit of JV baseball back in my days, and
you're the Bobby Cox of JV baseball.
Hey,
I don't know if you know who Bobby Cox was, but
I don't. But first,
great manager for the Braves.
Well,
back in the day,
all I can tell you is first full year as a head coach of a JV baseball team, won district title. That's all I have to say.
Yep.
But yeah,
and that was all coaching. The team was shit. It was all how you put them out.
100%.
Yeah.
100%.
You taught them the fundamentals of the game. I'll never forget when you told me you were coaching baseball. I was just cracking up. I was like, "Oh my god, you're coaching baseball at Smithson Valley, where these dads, like some of the dads, like really care and think that their JVB sons go into the league." And it's like, but at least the kids had a good sense of humor. Where, like, if you just tell the kids straight up, like, "Look," and I'm sure you kind of did. You didn't try to fool them. Like, guys, I'm a basketball coach. This is my second sport I have to coach. Coach so-and-so's making the lineup. If you need anything, you can ask me, but I have nothing to do with it.
Yes.
Like,
No, literally, that's
exactly the way of going about it.
That's and here's the thing. It's when you're like that, the kids respect you a whole lot more than the guy who's the JV A coach who doesn't know what he's doing either and maybe played some baseball but isn't a great coach who likes to try to teach these kids and tell them what to do. And they've got their own swing coach and their own and they're like, this guy's nitty, he doesn't know what he's doing. And I'm like, yeah, you're right, I don't. And I'm not going to tell you what to do. I'm not going to even attempt to tell you what to do.
I'm just like your babysitter.
That's
here.
right.
Y'all go do whatever.
And look, here's the thing that I learned. If the kids like you, which check mark for me, you get a lot less shit from parents, okay?
Yeah.
If the kids don't like you, and then they don't play or something. But on JVB baseball, everybody plays. Everybody gets in some part of the game. If it's a doubleheader, everybody gets a start. They're going to get in that bat in the game.
Jimmy, you can play shortstop this inning going out there.
That's right. Yeah. And you know what? I actually enjoyed some of it. When we were actually coming back and winning and we had like all these crazy comebacks. It was actually kind of fun. But no, that was funny because literally I never played baseball. It was the one sport I did not play growing up until 7th grade when I wanted to play tennis and everybody else played baseball and y'all didn't have enough people for baseball and I was going to be stuck in tennis by myself. So I literally went and was like, all right, I'll play baseball. And I did it for 2 years.
Played on the historic St. Louis baseball team.
I pitched in 8th grade, right? Yes, dude. I pitched and I won both my starts. I was 2-0 as a pitcher.
That's
Mr. Sunday put me on the mound because we had no pitchers, and he said, "You throw pretty hard. Just throw it as hard as you can. Don't do anything else." And I did that. Now I pitched against some terrible teams, but hey, I was 2-0, baby. I remember feeling out there at pitching. I remember thinking like about to throw the first pitch. I feel so out of place. Like I feel so uncomfortable right now. This is just not where I should be. But anyway.
Yeah, to put that league into perspective for people at home, I was an okay baseball player growing up, but we legitimately...
That's you're pretty good.
We legitimately... I think, what were we? Like, before my arm got hurt, I think we were 5 or 6-0 with me.
6-0,
and then we didn't win another game,
That's right. We're 0-7.
So, like, that, my whole point to the people at home is not to say that I'm that good. It's to say that the league is so, like, that one player in baseball should make a difference, right? You come up 1 every 9 at bats, but it didn't make that big of a difference. And I only pitched one of those games and I ended up hurting my arm. So it was like, we were 5-0 with me and 0-5 without me. And the team was just, it was the real life Bad News Bears. It was awesome. I mean, it was like, I remember being at shortstop and Coach Durbinay asking me, like, why aren't you throwing the ball hard? And I was like, I don't know if the kid at first, I don't know who all was playing whatever, but I was like, I don't know if he's going to catch it, and I really don't want to throw it at him because it was it was fun.
No, it was a good time.
Like we had fun.
It was actually like the Bad News Bears because if you remember when they get at least the new one, they get that kid with the long hair, and he comes in and basically like runs around the outfield catching every ball in front of everybody when he first comes on the team. Or Billy Bob Thornton. That's what it was like because I literally remember that to a T. I was out in like right field one time, and I remember thinking like, I hope they don't hit me the ball. And then they hit me the ball, and I was like, "Oh fuck, I'm gonna have to catch this." And then I'm like going over, and I'm like, "I got it." And then like as I'm coming over, I just see Turner when he used to be athletic sprint in, slide underneath, and catch the ball with one hand right in front of me, and then just toss it. And I'm like, "Thank God he got over there and got that." And it was not his play whatsoever, but he knew he needed to help me out.
It was a fun league. It was an experience. That's for sure.
All right, let's move on. Let's talk a little bit of NBA. We have a weekend recap. We saw the first 2 days of the NBA playoffs. Everybody played at least one game.
I have a fun stat for this.
Yeah.
I don't know if you knew this, and they were just talking about it last night. and I made sure it was correct. There's been 14 playoff games in the NBA and NHL, and the home teams are 14-0.
I saw that. Yeah, I was
14-0.
I was about to mention that. Yeah,
that's insane.
It's crazy, dude. That actually is wild.
It's the first time through the first 2 days in hockey that since I think 1970 that the home team had won every single game. Now I think there's normally 8. You know, they're talking about 8 games because the Stars and Knights don't play till tonight, and Edmonton and the Kings don't start till late tonight. But crazy. The home teams won every single game, which you certainly wouldn't expect.
Home teams in hockey, it's especially shocking. It's a little less shocking in basketball, but still, I believe they said the last time all of the first games went to the home team, like the home teams went 8-0 in the first round, game 1 was 2013. So we're talking 11 years ago. It's a long time. Still in the NBA, it doesn't happen. They went 7-1 against the spread. The home teams did as well. The lone non-cover for a home team was the Thunder last night, who failed to cover as 8.5-point favorites. Barely snuck that one out, 94-92 over the Pelicans. Also interesting, the
ugly
unders.
Game.
Well, they've all been. So this is where I want to start with this general point here, and then we'll move on to kind of touch on some of these games. So unders were 6-2 in the first round.
That makes sense to me because it's just one of those deals, and like we've talked about, it's like these guys play different in the playoffs. The effort level's up double what it normally is, so guys actually play some defense.
Absolutely.
Right? I mean, it's that simple, and I don't know. It seems like Vegas probably would try to adjust something, but maybe it's only a couple points here and there to the totals, and it's making way. I think you'll see an overcorrection coming, probably.
Because a lot of them went way under.
Maybe not, but I mean, that wasn't the Pelicans Thunder score at the end of the first quarter 17-17?
It was 17-17
or 19-17.
No,
it was something
17,
crazy
17
like that.
At the end of the first. It was 43-43 at halftime, and
And what was the actual total in that game? I have no idea. Like in the 220s
in the Thunder game.
Yeah,
it was 216.5.
Okay. Yeah.
So 216.5, and it finished in a very tight game, at 186. So we're talking, 30 points under. 30 points under. I mean, the only game yesterday that was even close to the total was the Heat Celtics, and that was only because the Heat kept their starters in until the last, basically the whole game. They never took them out.
Yeah.
So, these games are, a lot of them going under. Like, you don't see, how many games in the regular season do you see where, like, one of the teams doesn't touch 100? It's even that is rare. Like, where just one of the teams doesn't touch 100, I would say like 70% of the games. Well, all but 2 games had a team that didn't touch 100. At least one of the teams. Some of them, like Cavs Magic, was 97-83. We also talked about too. You've watched way more games than me. I've watched just a little bit of basketball. I watch more of the NHL when the playoffs start, but it seems like the officials are officiating differently too, 100%.
Which is nice. They're letting them play. We're not shooting 150 free throws. Like, I remember watching, before we played golf yesterday, a quarter and a half of that Clippers-Mavs game, and it was like they were letting them play. I was like, normally in the NBA there would have been 4 foul calls in a row, and some guy got blocked on one end, Luka got blocked on the other. I mean, they just weren't, making calls, which was awesome.
Well, I think
it was like watching old school. Not old school playoff basketball, but much better than what we're used to these days.
100%. Yeah. And I think that's a great point. I didn't even write that one down, but I completely agree. The officials have definitely played into it. We've had, obviously, there's that general sentiment that NBA teams don't play defense in the regular season. Playoffs, they do. And a lot of sharp guys in the past couple years have done that. Bet late in the season on unders, bet early in the playoffs on unders. Now, there'll be some adjustments that'll, cater to that. But also, I think that one other point that's important to bring up in terms of the low scoring is we have a lot of teams in the playoffs, not a ton. We have a decent number with a lot of young guys who haven't played. So you're talking, it'll be interesting to see how those younger teams react as the series goes on. For example, the Thunder yesterday, I really thought the Thunder, they could have scored a lot more points. They got real tight early and real tight late. They didn't score for like 6 minutes in the fourth quarter and damn near lost the game because of it.
They were up like 10, right?
Yeah. They got up 10 in the fourth and then blew the whole lead, and then they looked like they were definitely going to lose. the Pelicans had one possession late where they had 4 offensive rebounds and didn't score. But it's crazy.
I did see the end of that one.
But it is astonishing looking at the numbers. The first in the regular season, the average number of points scored total in a game is 228.4. The first round so far, the average is 191.3. So we're talking 37 points lower. I mean,
that's definitely officiating, and it's definitely effort.
Right.
The officiating has to, where they're probably, I would just go out on a limb and guess they're probably shooting, I don't know if you could look this up, but 10 to 15 free throws less would be my guess, probably. And then actually an effort on the defensive, side of the floor.
And there's a lower shooting percentage, lower 3-point percentage from a lot of teams, and I do think some nerves play into that. I don't think we're going to see totals stay at this 190 range. I think they're going to be closer to the 200 range.
Yeah.
But, and as the playoff goes on, you get better offensive teams surviving because usually offense wins out as time goes on. I mean, you have to play defense for sure, but the best offensive teams, the Warriors, have won the championship, 4 out of the last 10 years or whatever. But, the one thing I do want to touch on too before we move to the games is you wonder how the NBA could just, some of that stuff is controllable for the regular season because for me, during the regular season, I may watch, a game here or there. If I see a game's close and we've got League Pass, if I see a game's close, I'll turn it on if it's late in the fourth quarter. I watched pretty much every game this weekend from start to finish, with the exception of like half of the Clippers game when they started blowing them out because we were playing golf together. But they were all entertaining. Even the blowout games were pretty entertaining. I enjoyed watching those games because there's this feeling, especially that a team can still come back in today's NBA. So it's always competitive, and the level of intensity is fun to watch. It matters. At least with the officiating, at least with some of that stuff, that's controllable in the regular season. I don't want to watch the regular season where we see 40 free throws in a game or a guy shoot 27 free throws. Like, it's just not entertaining to watch. That's why we saw, right, this is the problem the NBA faces. It's the same thing we're just talking about. The fact that the playoffs are better is the problem, because not that the playoffs aren't great, it's that the regular season sucks. And that's why we've seen Adam Silver institute the NBA in-season tournament, trying to get people to incentivize guys to play hard, play for something. They're trying to incentivize people to continue playing hard at the end of the season with the play-in games. We've seen that addition because it was supposed to be just for COVID, but I think they kept it mainly because they want teams in that 12-11 range to play hard at the end of the year. So rather than having, 7 teams from every conference completely not give a shit, you've got, you could have 11, 12 of the 15 legitimately trying for a spot. And you've got like late in the year where the 6 and the 5 seed are trying to stay out of the play-in game in the West. It's important.
Yeah, I think the actual play-in tournament into the playoffs is brilliant. I mean, because you keep essentially 4 to 6 fan bases still engaged in the season, like, oh, well, maybe we're going to make it into this, rather than just having no chance. The in-season tournament, I think, stupid, but I do agree.
It was a fail. It was a complete fail.
I do agree that, like, when it made it to, like, the semifinals and finals, I think we did watch those games, so I guess it did work in that sense, but no one really cared about it,
I couldn't even tell you. I think the Lakers won it, but until I just thought about it, I probably couldn't tell you who won it.
Yeah, I know the Lakers were in it. I don't know who won it.
I think they won.
And then, but yeah, the play-in games are great because it just adds, like I said, 6 teams that normally the ratings are down. No one's watching. They're hoping they lose so they can tank to, we could get the 10 spot here and,
we saw that
in the playoffs.
We saw that with the Rockets this year. They were the 11, and they went on like a big win streak at the end of the year trying to get to that 10th spot. Now, they got eliminated with like 4 games to go, and then they didn't care. But had the play-in games not been a thing, they would have started tanking 3 weeks or 4 weeks earlier, and just nobody would have given a shit.
For sure. Yeah.
So that made it interesting. I do think there could be some cleaning up with, like, I don't like that a team like, the Hawks, who has a losing record by 7 or 8 games, is getting a chance to play for the playoffs. Like, I think you should have to be close enough, either have a 500 record or be close enough to the 8 seed or whatever. Regardless, do you think there's anything they can do in the regular season, or are they just completely fucked? Like, is Is this just how it's going to be for the NBA? Because I do think it's a problem. I mean, you're paying guys this absurd amount of money. There's a lot of load management going on. There's a lot of things like, I don't know how, in my opinion, this is sustainable to continue this growth of payment when you have viewership going down in the regular season. You don't make enough money just on the playoffs, in my opinion.
I would be interested to see the financials and the ratings. I really have no idea. Obviously, the league in the last few years has made a shit ton of money. Otherwise, due to TV contracts.
That's it.
Yeah. So, I mean,
nothing to do with viewership.
I get it. But I'm just saying, like, if that's all they need, and if TNT's willing to pay this amount of money, to have them in the ratings, because, I mean, I have a feeling the ratings are better when Shaq, Chuck, and Kenny and Ernie are talking than the
100%.
actual games are on, right?
Right.
Because, I mean, I catch myself doing that. Like, sometimes I'll be like, oh, the game's over and there's 2 minutes left. I'll watch the end of it and listen to these guys go back and forth for an hour and go over what's going on.
That's the most fun part of it.
I don't really care that much about the game. But there are some diehard NBA fans out there. I know some people that listen to the show really like the NBA. And it's, I get excited about it when the Spurs are good, right? I mean, we were obviously spoiled for so many years that, the Spurs were so fucking good for 20 years that it's just like, then they were bad for like 5 years. We're like, what this team, like other fan bases would be like, are you kidding me? Like you won, 5 championships in that amount of time and you're bitching about your 4 losing seasons. So
it's hard when you're in the midst of it though.
Yeah.
But well, let's jump into some of these games, and we'll start with, I guess, the biggest team in the league in terms of like viewership, which is the Los Angeles Lakers. They were the late game Saturday on day 1, and they fall to the Denver Nuggets 114-103. Now, the Lakers, they were in this game. In fact, they led by as many as 14 in the first half. They closed the first quarter up by 8. Ended up, I believe, up 3 at halftime because LeBron hit like kind of a crazy 38-footer at the buzzer. But the same story happened with this team that we've seen happen against the Nuggets for the last 2 years, right? Last year, they get swept in the playoffs by the Nuggets. They lose every regular season game versus the Nuggets this year. This is their 9th straight loss to Denver. And what did we see in the playoffs last year? Well, we saw a lot of times where the games were remotely close for most of the way. And in the fourth quarter, LeBron played very poorly. And the Nuggets would go on one big second half run, whether it be in the third or, fourth quarter, and they'd run away. And I was texting my buddy during the game, like, man, I had a bet on the Nuggets, like capping a parlay, and I had them money line. And I was like, I could cash out because they were up by like 4. But I was like, you know what? I just believe they're going to go on a run. They always go on a run. They did. It was like a 14-0 run, took a 15 or 16-point lead. And LeBron in the playoffs last year against the Nuggets, in those 4 games in the fourth quarter, he was 7 of 23, 1 of 10 from 3. He was awful. Last night, I think he took 1 shot the whole fourth quarter. He looked disinterested. Do you think the Nuggets do you think the Lakers have any chance to win this series based on what you've seen?
No, it's over. If they would have won game 1 and held on to that lead that they had in the first half and won that game, I think it would have been a really fun 7-game series. Now I think they may take one in Los Angeles. It'll be 4 or 5.
What if they stole game 2?
Then it could have potential to be fun, but I legitimately think that
it's a terrible matchup.
I just don't think that they actually believe after they blew. I think coming into this series, they're like, all right, it's, playoffs, wipe the regular season away. Don't worry about that series last year. Like, it's a fresh start here, and to be up 14 or whatever it was in the first half.
Yeah. It might have been the first quarter.
And not be able to win that game. I just think it's so demoralizing. Like, we can't even hold on to that lead and win a game. How are we going to beat these guys in a 7-game series? I think it's, I really do think that one's over. And the Nuggets, I think are the best. Look, if the Nuggets play the Celtics, I think the Nuggets are going to beat them. People that watch the NBA all the time probably will tell me I'm wrong because the Celtics have been playing. But I'll take Jokic and Murray over Tatum and Brown any day of the week in the playoffs.
I completely agree. I don't think I'm actually surprised. I guess I'd be interested to see what the line would be if they got to the finals together, because Right now, the Nuggets are a shorter favorite to win the championship, but I think that also incorporates the fact that they're going through the West.
100%.
So I think if they got into a series, it probably would be around a pick 'em, is my guess. I think it would be somewhere around a pick 'em. Maybe the Nuggets would be the sharp side, and it would get pushed up to like -120, -130, maybe higher. But I would be surprised. A lot of people think the Celtics are the best team this year. I get it, but I completely agree with you. I'm like, I just don't.
Regular season, it's just so different.
It's so
than
different.
The playoffs,
100%.
It just is. Like you win 70 games in the regular season. Who cares?
Right.
It's like, are you going to be able to win in the playoffs? It's that simple. Is Jimmy Butler out for that whole series? By the way.
They haven't distinctly said how many games he's out, but I'd be shocked if he comes back.
It would be hilarious if he came back and they pushed him to like 7 games.
Well,
again.
I will tell you this. If he played in that series, and they're missing not only him, they're missing the other guy they got out of free agency, Terry Rozier, who's been one of their leading scorers all year.
Scary Terry.
If they had both of those guys, that would actually be a fun series because the Heat just give everybody trouble in the playoffs with how they play defense.
Yeah.
But real quick, back to the Lakers. It is, I agree with you. I don't think they have a shot in this. I picked them to win, I believe, in 5. We kind of did our picks because we didn't know all the series until after we shot last week. So we texted them back and forth. But I picked them, I believe, in 5. I think I thought the Lakers, just because they had lost so many in a row, would get 1 game at home, which they still can. But it's concerning to me if I'm a Lakers fan looking. Anthony Davis played 45 of 48 minutes. LeBron played 41 minutes. And
yeah, that was it. I mean, they
went all in trying to win that game.
When you had the lead, they went all in. They didn't win it.
And
put a fork in them.
They had 97 points from their starters and 17 from the bench. Austin Reeves didn't do anything. Talk about the biggest bum ever in D'Angelo Russell. He fucking blows, man.
He's terrible.
He's terrible.
Was he like what? I remember seeing a stat that he was like 1 for 11 from 3 or something.
Yeah, fucking. And LeBron kept throwing him the ball.
And dude, the thing about it is, most of those threes that I saw, he was fucking wide open.
Yeah.
Like a wide open. And I was like, oh my God. I mean, you just miss after miss after miss.
Oh, and he
takes some tough shots, but man, typically he's open.
You give him wide open shots in the regular season, he'll bang them out. And then you get to the playoffs, he'll shit his pants, especially against the Nuggets.
Yeah.
We'll move to another game, and we'll just kind of talk about a few of the big games or the best games from the first round. So another game Saturday, Knicks over the 76ers. I think this is one of the most compelling series, if not the most compelling series. Obviously, if you watch the game, the Sixers played really well early. They were winning most of the game early on. The Knicks trailed. Knicks were struggling to find offense, and every time the Knicks kind of got it close, Philly would make a run, and the key was Embiid. When Embiid was on the floor, he played the entire first quarter. They were up a sizable amount. He goes out, Knicks get back in the game. He comes back in, Sixers go back ahead. And so in the end of the second quarter, Joel Embiid, who, by the way, he had tweaked he had a meniscus tear earlier in the year, right? He came back, he tweaked it right before the play-in game. And so if you watch the play-in game, he looked timid. He even said, like, I didn't trust my knee. I was a little bit scared. I didn't know what to feel. And then if you watched him in the first half against the Knicks, you were like, he looks confident. And I saw one of the most spectacular plays I've ever seen in an NBA game. It really was. The guy had the ball damn near the elbow, pivoted, had no shot, stepped through and threw the ball off the glass. And I'm not talking in transition. There was 4 guys around him, including a 7-foot guy in Mitchell Robinson. Went up off of his self-alley-oop, grabbed it with one hand and punched it over all 4 dudes. But when he came down, grabbed his knee, got carted off, or got carried off. He couldn't put any weight on it. And it looked like, he was going to be done for the series. And of course he comes back trotting out because I had a bet in the fucking Knicks. And let me say, I never, ever root for injuries.
That's a lie, folks.
I never, ever root for injuries.
It's a bold-faced lie.
How dare you? How dare you question my integrity here? I said out loud, I hope he's okay. I feel terrible for him. I swear to God I said that.
That's what he said out loud.
I swear to God.
That's not what he was thinking in his head. I can promise you.
I swear to God. Now, look. Was I upset when he came trotting out of the fucking locker room? Absolutely, because I had a bet on the Knicks in the game.
This guy fucking gets carted off. Now he's back out here beating me. Oh my God. Oh my God. That's what, the text messages I'm getting. I'm like, oh yeah, I forgot you're rooting for his career to be over.
No, I was not rooting for that. I wanted him to be okay, but I just thought from what my fucking eyes saw that he was not coming back, at least in that game, if not in the whole series. And the last time I have a fucking injury is Jamal Shed, who twists his ankle and fucking career ends right there, and I lose $100 bet on the fucking Houston Cougars in the tournament. Anyway.
Embiid's a man, dude. He plays through it. They were showing how swollen his knee was playing that second half.
He had a brace on it, too, before the injury, and And he didn't look the same afterwards. I don't know if you caught the end of it, but
I didn't know.
So my takeaways from that game is if Embiid is not healthy, the 76ers have no chance. I don't know what they could do. Maxey was great. Tyrese Maxey was amazing. But Brunson was 8 for 26. He had probably the worst game he's going to have.
And by the way, with Embiid not 100% or not even close, I'm reading right here that Maxey's questionable for tonight's game. So
stop.
If he doesn't play, then
and here's the problem. Once Embiid went down, due to illness, that's interesting. Well, here's the problem. Once Embiid went down, it's like, do you really want? They were down 12 at halftime. So he goes down. The Knicks go on a big run, right, to end the half. So it's like, do we even? Let's say he comes back like he is and he's okay. Why put him back in there? Like, that's what's weird to me. They went all in on game one is what they decided to do, which is odd considering the fact that they were down double digits at halftime. If you were up, I would understand it. But what they did was played him, 37 minutes. He played most of the second half. They went all in trying to win game one, kind of like the Lakers did, and it didn't work out. And now what happens is they have a very short turnaround, and now they're having to play game two tonight with a hobbled Embiid. Maxey's now questionable. If they lose that game and go down 2-0, this series is over because that team with their health right now, they're not beating the Knicks in 4 out of 5. Like, they're not going to win 4 out of 5 games against the Knicks with 2 of the games being in New York. It's just not going to happen. So, to me, Embiid would have to come out and just look completely healthy tonight, which is very unlikely, and go for 40 points. That's
who will the Knicks play next round if they win?
They would get the winner of the Bucks and the Pacers.
Either one of those teams will beat the Knicks.
If Giannis is not healthy, I don't think the Pacers would beat him. I do not think the Pacers would beat the Knicks.
Yeah, maybe not the Pacers.
I think the Bucks would.
The Knicks actually kind of play defense.
Next one, real quick. T-Wolves surprised the Suns. Everybody Suns were the trendy pick in this series. I can't remember. Did I pick the Suns in this series? I might have.
No, I think I did.
I mean, they beat the T-Wolves all 3 times by double digits in the regular season. The first game, though, was the complete opposite. The first 3 regular season matchups, Anthony Edwards averaged 14.5 points and shot 30% from the field, 27% from 3. In the first game, he was 14 of 24, had 33, 9, and 6. I'm not sure, again, if I picked the Suns, but I'll tell you what. If I did, I would flip my pick right now because I think the T-Wolves are going to beat them. They looked much better. I forgot how good of an environment that is for a playoff game. It was rocking in there.
Was it?
It was awesome. Yeah, it was great. It was the second best environment of the weekend behind the OKC game. Yeah. But yeah, I mean, do you think if you picked the Suns, would you change your pick right now, or do you think they're going to win?
Just after they got game one, I would, because I think when you look at the teams, obviously the Suns have the star power, but Bradley Beal's an absolute bum these days. So it's Booker and Durant. Durant's getting a little bit older. Anthony Edwards is coming. I mean, this is like, peak Edwards. He's just going to get better and better. And the T-Wolves play better defense.
Way
obviously.
better.
I mean, they're the best defensive team in the league.
I actually think the Knicks are, but yes, I think they are, or at least by points per game.
You can make
average.
an argument about the Knicks too, but I just think that, I mean, I think the T-Wolves, after winning game one, I think if they would have lost game one, especially after that regular season, series where they lost all 3,
disaster,
then they would have been in some real trouble. But now they got that win under the belt. They ended up winning by 20?
It was 25, 120 to 95.
Yeah, I think they'll ultimately, now that they won game one, end up winning that series. It's not really going out on a limb. I just don't think. I mean, the Suns have underachieved all year. I thought maybe they would be able to just, kind of with their veteran leadership with Durant and Booker, pick it up in the postseason and play even better. But it's not the case.
Booker was horrible in that game. Oh my gosh, he was terrible. Did you do you think if the Suns lose in the first round to the T-Wolves, which I'm not shitting on the T-Wolves. Obviously they're the 3 seed, but
they're a good I mean, it could have been a game away from being the 1 seed, right?
Right.
I mean,
but that said, they're not some juggernaut, right? Like if you're looking at it from a pure like top player standpoint, like technically, and I think Anthony Edwards is phenomenal. I think
Anthony Edwards is awesome.
He's
my
awesome.
favorite. I mean, besides Wemby, he's my favorite player to watch.
And he's 22 years old.
Yeah.
It's crazy.
And it was so funny because, like, I remember him being at Georgia and being like, yeah, he's pretty good. Like, don't get me wrong. Like, he was at Georgia. He did some, like, freakish things.
Athletically.
Because he wasn't, like, that polished of a player. But they're like, oh, yeah, he's the bona fide number one pick. And I was like, I don't know. I mean, like, I see
a lot of times it doesn't work out with those like that, too. Yeah.
I was like, I see it because he's so athletic, but he's going to have to learn how to shoot. And he's learned how to shoot. He defends. I mean, if I was starting a team, I think, and I might be overlooking, I mean, obviously you got Luka. So, like, I mean, you probably go, if you're starting a franchise like today, right?
Yeah.
I mean, you probably take, after what Wemby did.
I'm taking Wemby 1.
He's so young. I'd take Wemby 1. Jokic is still, how old's Jokic these days?
I think he's like 29.
Okay, so you go like Luka 2. I mean, my whole point is, if you're starting, a franchise, I think with Anthony Edwards being how young he is, he's a top 5 guy.
Yeah, he's probably top 5 for sure. Top 10, maybe top 5. I
would probably throw him top 5. Just the way he plays defense and like he's so young that. And
I heard him do an interview and he is really like, Kevin Durant was his favorite player growing up, and he talks about like, I'm only 20. He's like talking about Kevin Durant and how much he admires him. He's like, I just like people forget that I'm 22 years old. And, like, I still don't know, like, where my spots are all that well. Like, I'm still learning where my best go-to spots are. I'm still learning this. Like, I'm learning a lot every day as a young 22-year-old. And it's like, man, you see a performance like that. And it's not just one game. Last playoffs, he was great. Like, he was the best player on the T-Wolves. Yeah. And really, I think nobody gave them a shot in that series against the Nuggets. And despite the fact that I believe they lost 4-1, couple of those games came down to the wire, and it's mainly because he was great. Like even game 5 where the Nuggets closed it out in Denver, it was real tight. And so I like him a lot.
I would say as far as like beating, dethroning the Nuggets and getting through the West, I think the Clippers have the second best chance if Kawhi Leonard's playing and healthy. Like if you're going to knock out the Nuggets out of the West, I'm saying, right?
Right.
I think the Clippers have the second best chance, and I think Minnesota has a much better chance of beating them a series than Oklahoma City does. I think Oklahoma City has a 0% chance.
Wait, who do you think has the best?
I'm saying I think the Clippers. So
you said Clippers second best. Do you mean they have the best chance or no?
Yes, they have the best chance.
Oh, I see. Second best chance to come out of the West. See what you're saying.
And then I think Minnesota is the third because the way Minnesota defends, and if Jokic doesn't play well, I just think that Minnesota. I think if Minnesota played Oklahoma City in a series that Minnesota would beat them. I do. I just not sold on Oklahoma City.
Okay.
They're young, they're talented, but they're not ready. And Anthony Edwards, in my opinion, with his surrounding cast instead of SGA, I think that it's going to be. I think Oklahoma City would have a lot of trouble beating them in the 7-game series.
I think both things are true. I agree. I would say Minnesota in a 7-game series would be favored to beat the Thunder. I believe that to be true 100%. I don't think that they would kill them because both teams are very young.
Yeah.
Well, I take that back. The best player in Minnesota is young. They're not really that young. Thunder are very young, but the Thunder are extremely talented. They just are not. They kind of remind me of the Kings last year. Not quite the same type of team, but in terms of like up and coming team. Overachieving in the regular season. They have a superstar. The Kings have Fox. They've got Anthony Edwards. Yeah. But I do believe, and this is actually where I wanted to go with this, is who has the best chance to dethrone the Nuggets in the West. I think it's the Clippers. I've said it all year. Didn't like how they played at the end of the regular season. That said, loved how they played game 1. They played super hard, defended extremely well, which I haven't seen out of them since the middle of the season where they look like the best team in the league. No Kawhi, no problem. They win the game anyway by 20 points. Or actually, they ended up winning by 12, but that's because the Mavs scored a bunch late. Regardless, the one reason that I would say that I don't believe the Timberwolves had a very good shot against the Nuggets is the same guy that I can't stand that I've been saying for years, and that's Rudy Gobert. I believe if the T-Wolves had a better if they could take the money that they spend on Rudy Gobert and disperse it to get a pretty solid rim protector and maybe a stretch 5 who can also shoot it and defend the perimeter, that would be a much better move. I think Rudy Gobert is one of the most overrated players, and I don't think this is a hot take. He's one of the most overrated players in the NBA. I do not think he is deserving of a Defensive Player of the Year award, not only this year, but any year, and that might get some people upset. But here's the thing, man. If you're going to call the award the best defensive player in basketball, how can you give it to a guy who cannot defend anywhere outside of 3 feet at the basket? Like, literally, Wemby can guard the perimeter. Wemby can guard guys around the elbow. I mean, there are guys, in my opinion, in years past, like when Tony Allen won Best Defensive Player of the Year, or DPOY, that is deserving. He's guarding
Bailey's favorite player.
Yeah, I'm sure.
Grindhouse.
I'm sure it is. The Grindhouse. He hated the Grindhouse Grizzlies.
I know.
But you have guys like that, or a Ron Artest, where they're guarding multiple positions and they're just locked down defenders. Kawhi Leonard, I don't know if he ever actually won one. I think he might have. He's been deserving. To me, giving it to a center, the guy's got to be versatile, and that's the thing that Gobert is not. And here's the problem. Every time, and I mentioned this last podcast, every single time we go into the playoffs, what happens? Teams exploit the fact that Rudy Gobert cannot guard the perimeter, cannot extend outside the paint, cannot switch on ball screens, and basically has to sit in drop coverage, meaning he drops back on a ball screen. So any big man who can pick and pop and shoot it, or any team who decides to go small, kills them. And that's how they've gotten knocked out when he was in Utah. Every single time. They didn't win last year. I don't think they have any chance. Minnesota will not win a championship or get to a championship until they dump Rudy Gobert. That's the only way that it happens. And that sucks because they have a really good team. And Gobert for the regular season is great. Because you're not going to have teams who make specific adjustments to your personnel that are extremely effective, because they got 2 games in the next 5 days. They don't care. They're not going to spend all this time.
Yeah, but in a series, it's different.
And the reason I picked the Suns in this series, even though I think the T-Wolves are going to win after watching that first game, the reason I picked the Suns and the reason I still think the Suns could win, and I said this last time, the difference is, and this will determine the entirety of the series, will Frank Vogel go small with a KD at the 5 and stretch Rudy Gobert out of the floor? If he does that and makes Gobert have to guard the perimeter, they will lose this series. They will not even get out of the first round. In the first game, I watched the whole thing. Eubanks and Nurkic played every meaningful minute. There was one of their true big men in the entire game. He has to make that adjustment. And if he does, they'll lose. And that's the reason I don't believe that the T-Wolves could beat the Nuggets, because Gobert cannot sit at the rim on Jokic. And what they'll do is they'll put him on Aaron Gordon. But when they go, Aaron Gordon's not a horrible three-point shooter. And when they go small, they'll be able to stretch the floor. You just can't do that. You cannot have a guy like that in the playoffs. It's too limiting in what you do. Quinn Snyder used to be a really good coach, and I literally think he has PTSD from dealing with that shit, because Rudy Gobert cost them multiple shots at going to a championship. I mean, it literally did. When they were the best team in the league, best defensive team, it's the same exact thing as those old Utah teams. There's no difference. They're the best defensive team. They've got a great guard, Anthony Edwards. It used to be Donovan Mitchell. They've got Rudy Gobert inside. And what happens? They cannot guard in the playoffs with a guy like that. That's my rant on Rudy Gobert. That's why I believe the T-Wolves have no shot to win an actual championship or beat the Nuggets.
And to be clear, I don't think they're going to beat the Nuggets either.
But I like your point. I like your point. I just think if you take Rudy Gobert...
The thing about it, too, is that my thinking behind it is that Jokic, nobody can guard Jokic anyway. Yeah. So it doesn't matter. You throw anybody on Jokic, it ain't going to matter. He's going to get his 40. If he wants 40, he'll get 40. If he wants 25 and 15 assists, he's going to do that. It really doesn't matter when it comes to him, in my opinion. And that's why I said, just as a whole, as a team, I mean, I think the Clippers have the best chance. I think the T-Wolves have the second best chance, but I don't think either team ultimately will beat them. So.
Well, I agree with that, but I will also say that the reason is not that nobody can guard Jokic and Gobert can't guard him. It's the fact that the way the Nuggets play, will draw Gobert away from the basket, where he's exploitable and where you now lose your rim protector, which is why their defense is good in the regular season, because he sits in the rim.
Yeah, he just sits down there. Yeah,
right. And so that's what happens when you stretch him to the perimeter. Now you basically take away your rim protector, and you have a very subpar, below average perimeter guy out there who gets blown by a guard or gets a three popped on him by a good shooting big man. So that's my point. I do think if Kawhi comes back, if Kawhi comes back and he's healthy and he doesn't sit out.
That guy's the biggest. I mean,
he really is.
Such a joke.
Well, and I want to ask
I just can't believe it. Imagine, and he did it in San Antonio. So we know.
Oh, we know.
Kind of his MO. But, dude, the Clippers, who have a team with these vets, were really the windows pretty much closing, right? I mean, it's not like they have a young, you got Harden, Westbrook, Paul George, and Kawhi Leonard. And Kawhi Leonard, like, Embiid is playing on a torn MCL, probably. God knows what else is wrong with his leg. And he straps it in a brace, takes some painkillers, and goes out there. And Kawhi Leonard has knee soreness.
I know.
And he's not playing game one.
It's unreal. I
mean, if I'm the owner, and, Ballmer's a lunatic. So if I'm the owner, he's my lunatic, by the way. I love Steve Ballmer.
That was the funniest shit ever. When he was
losing his mind over there. Like,
it was the third quarter. It was like a foul in the third quarter.
He's great. He's, like you said, they need a Ballmer cam of just him.
Dude, that would be hilarious.
The whole game losing his mind. But this guy makes, I don't know how many millions of dollars a year. It's the playoffs. And he's sitting out with knee soreness.
Unbelievable.
This is legitimately the only league. This is why the NBA is so fucking soft and people can't stand it. The only league in the world that happened.
Yep.
Hockey, you make it to the Stanley Cup, and guys are playing with broken fucking legs. They'll say, like, there's nothing better than at the end of the Stanley Cup playoffs, and the Stanley Cup's over, and they disclose the injuries, and it's like fractured fibia. He was playing. They put an extra brace on there, and he's out there because it's like, the odds of you splitting it in half aren't too bad. So go out there and skate and give it, broken ribs. I mean, it's just, the guys will play with anything because they want, to win that badly. And you have Kawhi Leonard, who's like, I'm going to make $60 million this year sitting over here with knee soreness.
Yep.
I just can't believe it.
I believe.
And that's why Charles Barkley's always losing his mind on that shit, too. He's like, hockey players are tough, man. He's like, they were talking about, someone said something about NBA players being tough. And he's like, he started laughing. He's like, no, hockey players are tough. NBA players aren't tough.
Oh, I remember that little rant, yeah. But I think he's played, I could be wrong, but I think he's played one playoff game since 2020. Like literally since the bubble ended, 2021 did not play. 2022 did not play. 2023 played one game and then was done. And this year gets hurt right before the playoffs. I mean, at what point do you just get rid of this guy? And at what point, I understand there is no denying. We saw him carry the Toronto Raptors to a title. He is phenomenal. Nobody questions how good he is.
Yeah, no one questions the greatness when he actually plays.
When he actually plays, because he is such a good defender. And he's become such a great offensive player, which he wasn't when he entered the league. He was always a great defender, but he's become one of the best offensive players. Really, legitimately, when he was on Toronto having that year, really even towards the end of the San Antonio career, we were talking about him as is he in the same conversation as Kevin Durant and LeBron? And now it's just at this point, your whole career and your whole legacy is this guy who is totally just cares about himself, doesn't care about the team, sits out of the playoffs, and that's all anybody sees in him now. And nobody's going to remember the fact that he carried Toronto to a championship, except Toronto fans. All everybody's going to remember is that this guy was a punk. He asked out of San Antonio. He went to Toronto. He won a championship. He asked out of Toronto. He went back home to the Clippers, to an organization who went out of their way to go get him and trade for him. And what does he do to the Clippers? He shits on them year in, year out. Every single time they get to the playoffs, he does not play. He has got, for his public image, and I know he doesn't give a fuck.
He doesn't care.
He didn't give a flying fuck.
He's counting the board man gets paid.
That's all he cares.
But that's board man gets
true.
Paid. He, with him too, and I don't give him a pass in San Antonio. Obviously, I was a Spurs fan, but the one thing in San Antonio that made a little bit of sense to me, right, where it's like you have your uncle in your ear and whoever his crazy advisors are, right? Saying, don't, this team won their championship. Don't be threatening your career. Because he hadn't gotten the big contract at that point, right? When he was sitting out. He didn't get his max deal yet. So I can kind of see. Now, I'm not saying I would do that or any other players in any other sport would do it, but I could kind of see why he was doing it to, protect himself as far as getting paid. But once you've gotten paid, it's like, okay, he never has to worry about money the rest of his life.
I know.
He's got hundreds of millions of dollars. Like, once you've already gotten paid, and if I'm Paul George, who, went there to win a championship with him, and those guys be like, you motherfucker, play.
I know.
Unless you have a fractured knee, play.
And
what are you going to do? What are we doing at this point? You're making this amount of money. You've already gotten your max deals. You're set financially. In San Antonio, I get that, he hadn't had that max deal yet or whatever it may have been. So I could maybe see if, he really thought he was going to really screw up his knee. I could get why he did that. But at this point, it just shows the character that he just doesn't give a shit, in my opinion.
No, I completely agree.
Yeah.
I mean, he's made, over the course of his career, just in salary from the NBA, just south of $300 million. He's probably made another $150 on his Adidas endorsement. He's probably made another $100 on other endorsements. I mean, he's probably worth, even taking out taxes and paying all that stuff.
You cut it probably in half in California, but still,
he's
it's probably
worth $300 million, somewhere around there. If he's not, if 200 at
and
200
just
at the most,
play in a playoff. It's so weird. He must have just some. Anyway, I don't know. There's got to be some mental issue. There's got to be something.
100%. There's a mental issue, but
it's crazy.
But at what point are you if I'm in his camp, if I'm that guy, even if I'm thinking about it as okay, I'm kind of like a scummy guy, right? If I'm Uncle Dennis, right, who just very scumbaggy, right, snake oil salesman, finagling his way into money and all this bullshit, and fuck Uncle Dennis. But let's say I am Uncle Dennis, right? I'm thinking about this from his public image. For 4 years in a row, all he's gotten is shit on on Twitter and in social media. You would think at this point, if he really could play, that even his inside camp would be like, hey, look, dude, we're trying to make money here, and if you do this again for a fourth straight season, at some point, they're not going to give you, nobody's going to give you a max deal next time, and they're not.
That was my next point. It's he's almost become there's all kinds of teams that would want him, but he's almost become untradeable because, okay, am I going to trade first round picks for this guy who's going to sit out 40 games and not give it a go in the playoffs? Why on earth would I do that?
Yep.
I mean, it's a coin toss if he's even playing, right? So, I mean, that's what you have to take in. Sure, you could get Raptors Kawhi that carried a team to a championship, but more than likely that's not going to be the case.
Yeah.
So.
I mean, he's been at 3 places so far, and the only place that he didn't sit out multiple times, a full year or more, was the Raptors, and that's because he was there for 1 year and he was trying to get paid and moved. He had an incentive when he was at the Raptors to play. If he goes to the Raptors and sits out, not a lot of teams are let's take a flyer on him and give him much. But he goes and wins that championship and plays the whole season.
No.
Then he wins. Now he realizes at that point, oh, I'm good. I can play for the rest of my life. I just won a second championship and won a Finals MVP again. Which, by the way, I'm so sick that we gave him Finals MVP that year, because I swear to you, we did that on purpose, because it's the media. It's the San Antonio media, essentially. We did that on purpose as a passing of the torch from Timmy D and Tony Parker and Manu to Kawhi. But Manu Ginobili was just as important. Boris Diaw was just as important in that series, and we gave it to Kawhi.
The French croissant.
I would have given it to Manu.
Boris.
Regardless, it's going to be... real quick on the Clippers series before we
I was about to say, I'm gonna let you wrap up basketball so we can get to the NFL draft this week. Okay. Whatever, in beautiful Detroit, Michigan, a favorite city of this podcast. Visit Detroit.com. It's beautiful.
We're gonna take a trip there. I'm gonna book a vacation for us to go spend some time in Detroit, Michigan. Yeah, you're gonna go.
There's
0%
chance.
We're gonna stay in a really nice townhouse downtown.
Yes, sure.
Yeah. But
sure.
In that Clippers game, I just have to say this because it was so much fun to watch. And I'm not talking about the bearded monster.
Oh, yeah.
I'm talking
Bearded
about
Monster and Russ were balling. It was old times.
It was like old times. It was James Harden and Russell Westbrook. They equaled the entire Mavs team in the first half.
Yep.
They combined for 30. The Mavs scored only 30 in the first half. In fact, the Mavs scored just 8 points in the second quarter. It was ridiculous. And the Clippers, the Clippers just played harder than the Mavs. And the one thing I forgot to mention, I think, when we did this breakdown and I picked the Clippers, was the Ty Lue Jason Kidd mismatch. It's one of the bigger coaching mismatches in all of the first round. Like, Rick Carlisle and Doc Rivers is a decent mismatch, Rick Carlisle being better. But this is probably the biggest because Jason Kidd's a fucking idiot, and Ty Lue is one of the best coaches in basketball. But yeah, Luka and Kyrie really struggled in the first half. If you look at the box score, they both finished with fucking 30-plus points because they scored a shit ton in meaningless minutes in the second half. But I will say it was fun to watch. Harden, and by the way, the bearded monster, he started 6 of 7. He finished 2 of 12.
So all right.
He came back down to earth. But like I said,
he got tired. He got tired out there. He was drinking before the game.
Well, he does need to lose about 30 pounds, you know.
He was at the old strip club.
Well, they went out last night 100%. Yeah. I don't know if Russ went out, but James went out. He dropped about $500K on that at the strip club last night. Bottle service and everything. If you were there, you were having a good time. But it was fun to see like the old Thunder crew hooping. They looked like the better team. I hope the Clippers get through this series and we get to see I think the Clippers will easily beat the Thunder if they do, with or without Kawhi, and then we get to see a Clippers-Nuggets series, hopefully with a healthy Kawhi. But,
I mean, I love Luka, but I cannot get around to cheering for the Mavs. I just can't, being a Spurs fan.
Yeah.
It's too tough.
All right. I can cheer for Luka. I can't cheer for the Mavericks, but it also helps that I like the Clippers. All right. Let's move on to the NFL draft, and we're going to do a little bit like of a mock draft here. I have a couple questions. Well, let's do the mock draft first, and then we'll talk a little bit about the draft afterwards. So what we're going to do is we're going to skip pick number 1 because everybody knows that's going to be Caleb Williams. So the Bears are going to take Caleb Williams at number 1. That's pretty much locked in stone here. But we'll start with pick 2. You'll be pick number 2 as the Commanders. We'll go back and forth. And then instead of pick number 11, I'm going to pick who I think the Cowboys would take at 24. So go ahead. You're on
number
the clock.
2 is an easy pick for me. It's not Drake May. It's Jaden Daniels. Give me the Heisman Trophy winner, the more athletic quarterback. He's probably got a better arm. I don't know that for sure, but I like Jaden Daniels. I think it would be interesting to see what the Bears did at 1 if there wasn't all this outside noise and pressure to absolutely take Caleb Williams. Like we've talked about before, it's a no-brainer pick for a GM because he might think he's better, but you can never pick Jaden Daniels in the spot if you are the Bears, even if you think Jaden Daniels might be better, because you just put your career on the line. It's that simple.
Yep. If
you pick Caleb Williams, you say, well, you guys had him as the bona fide number 1 pick for
everybody
3 years.
And their mother.
Yeah. So I'm going to go Jaden Daniels. I like how dynamic he is. I think that's the right pick for the Commanders. I really do.
Question. So, I don't know if you saw this. You probably did. Adam Peters, the GM of the Commanders, had the brilliant idea of, instead of doing individual meetings with the prospects, he had like 20 plus of the top prospects all go to Topgolf together. That was like, did you see this?
No.
Dude.
Is that where Jaden Daniels' agent got mad? Is that what the deal was?
Both of them, to him and Jaden Daniels and his agent. And they basically Peters was like, well, I wanted to see them, and we wanted to see them in a more relaxed setting, interacting with their peers. But they did get a lot of individual time with their coaches. We had them kind of staggered, but we wanted to see them together, and everybody had a great time. It was awesome. And Jaden Daniels is like, I'm supposed to be the number 2 pick here. Everybody's projecting me being the number 2 pick. Like, why am I together with all these other guys?
Pro Football Focus, by the way, which is what I'm looking at right here, has Drake May still.
So it's and I looked at the Vegas odds a couple days ago. Jaden Daniels was a favorite, but it wasn't like it wasn't overwhelming. And here's my question to you: there is this sentiment that Jaden Daniels now he didn't want to play in Washington anyway, and now he has this excuse of this Topgolf thing to say like, hey, I really don't want to play here. If you're the Commanders and he's basically saying like, I don't want to play for Washington, do you still draft him if you believe he's a better quarterback?
I don't know. Well, yeah,
that
adds an interesting dynamic to it. I think that he just feels disrespected that happened. I don't think he just doesn't want to play there. I think he would rather be the number 2 overall pick and play there than in New England. Right? New England's got pick 3?
Yeah.
I mean, dude, what pieces does New England have?
It's a good point. That's a great point.
I mean, and it's cold. I mean, New England's colder weather than DC. I mean, DC's not. I mean, don't get me wrong, it's cold there too, but it's Foxborough's. You got the snow, you got the wind, and I don't
really
know.
Want to follow Tom Brady?
Yeah, no, I don't. I would if I were him, I would rather be drafted by the Commanders.
But
and the Commanders is who's the new head coach of the Commanders?
Dan Quinn. That's what I was gonna say. You're gonna have Dan Quinn as your head coach, or you have OJ Mayo.
But you know how it goes, man. Those defensive coaches, both of them aren't gonna have much to do with the offense.
No, they're not.
NFL's.
They're not.
Yeah. Anyway, I'm going Jaden Daniels here for my pick.
I just thought that was an interesting point. Okay.
No, it is.
Yeah.
But I think that he just felt. I think he would rather go two. Yeah. I think.
Now I'm gonna preface this by saying I have a weird feeling, and I've heard people say this. The Patriots could trade out here if Jaden Daniels goes too. I don't know that they'll. I don't know. We'll see. But I also saw a quote from OJ Mayo talking about Drake May, and if I was the Patriots in this situation, I think it's a no-brainer. I think Drake May is a good quarterback. I'm going to take Drake May at 3 here. To me, it's just you have no quarterback on your roster who is going to make you relatively competitive. And say what you want about, Drake May compared to Jaden Daniels or Caleb Williams, he's still a good, solid prospect. Like, there's no question that he is a top 2 or 3. Like, there's a drop-off probably after 3. But the top 3, like, I really don't know. Like, if you told me in 10 years Drake May would be the best quarterback of these 3, it wouldn't shock me. Thank you, Bailey. What did I say? Did I really? Who's OJ Mayo? He played in the NBA. Jared Mayo.
Now you're doing an Uncle T special over there, fucking up the first names.
I
heard OJ Mayo didn't even blink. I was like, yep. I knew exactly who you were talking about.
He's trying to say me because on the last one I called. Even though I corrected myself immediately on the Kentucky one, I said something like,
"Oh yeah," and
Reed
someone
Wagner
was like,
he's like,
can't get these names right." I saw that comment.
Called this guy Reed Wagner, and then called the other guy a Russian dude, and I was like, Russian. I commented back Russian smushin'. That was my comment.
Russian.
I replied to every single one of those comments, by the way. I don't know if Bailey did, but I made them really fun. Like, they were like, "Yeah, these guys are clowns. What a joke!" And I go, "Yeah, we are clowns." They would get fucking livid when I would respond like that. Anyway. If I'm the Patriots, I'm 100% taking Drake May here. I think any 3 of these quarterbacks could be pretty good. I think Drake May will be a good quarterback in the NFL, regardless of who he goes to. I think all 3 of those guys should be good. In fact, I think Caleb Williams has the highest bust potential. Like, Drake May could end up being like a guy who's like a Kirk Cousins maybe, or a little bit lesser than that. But I don't think he's going to just be out of the league in 4 years. Caleb Williams is the type of guy who just, like, I don't know. He's just so, like, vibrant, and maybe I'm wrong here, but I just feel like
the bust potential could be high.
Yeah, I don't know what he is. Like, he didn't win.
I mean, the guy in the middle of the draft process went to Tokyo with his girlfriend or something. I mean, there's all kinds of alarm bells going off.
100%. And Drake May, say what you want, but look, North Carolina, before Drake May got there, very, very average. I mean, they were highly ranked for 2 years.
Then Mac Brown coached them up.
Yeah, there you go. Look who his coach is. I mean, that's a joke. It's a joke.
Oh, Mac.
How good he was compared to, like, the situation he was in. So to me, I would take Drake May at 2. Or at 3, sorry.
So I had a conversation with a Patriots fan. I'll make this brief about that pick. And my philosophy would be here at 3. If you were not absolutely sold on him, and you thought that was if you are sold on Drake May, then by all means you have to take him. If you don't, in my opinion, you take Marvin Harrison Jr. with no quarterback, and you give them 1 year of experience, and they're going to be really, really fucking bad, and you take a quarterback the next year, and then you have the best receiving prospect they're saying in maybe ever, and then, Drake May. But if you do like Drake May, then you obviously have to take him, right? Number 4.
That's actually a very good point.
Number 4, Marvin Harrison Jr. I think it's a no-brainer. Next best player on the board. I mean, first of all, best player on the board, probably. Most scouts think that he's a once-in-a-generation receiving prospect. His dad's in the Hall of Fame, right?
Right.
I mean, it's pretty simple. I mean, but me, if I was the Patriots there, if I didn't love Drake May, that's what I do. I draft Marvin Harrison Jr. I have him locked up for 5 years. And then not to mention, you're going to be horrible again this year with basically no quarterback. You either draft a quarterback next year or you pick somebody up in free agency and entice them with, hey, we have Marvin Harrison Jr. now. You know what I mean?
Not a bad idea. The only thing I would say is I just looked up the top quarterbacks for the 2025 class. And
terrible.
They're just awful. Like Shedeur Sanders, Quinn Ewers, Carson Beck, Cam Ward. I mean, those are literally the top 4.
Agreed. So it would
that's pretty bad.
Yeah, it would be Marvin Harrison Jr. and then pick up somebody in free agency.
You're going to have to get somebody.
Go get somebody.
But if you go get Marvin Harrison Jr. and he really does, with a bad quarterback, look like a top receiver, then you could probably draw some people there.
Yeah.
That said, it's a lot harder to get a quarterback in free agency than it is to draft one.
For sure.
It costs more money. It's hard to get people to go to your team when you're bad. And usually you're only going to get a guy at a discounted price, like a Derek Carr coming off of getting cut by the Raiders, right?
Sure. I think ultimately you have to, I agree with you. I think ultimately you have to go Drake May, especially with that other class. And just, the quarterback position's most important, obviously. So I agree with you.
No, but I do think that is interesting because if I know he's great. I know he's phenomenal. And if I'm the Cardinals there and he's there, I'm taking him for sure.
Mm-hmm.
But that is if he's that good, it might be worth it. You have to be pretty, like you said, you have to be pretty sold on Drake May there at that point to take him over a guy that good. I also think Brock Bowers could be in that conversation. I know tight ends have a trouble transitioning to the NFL. It takes a minute for that position.
I think Brock Bowers is awesome.
I think he's phenomenal. I think he's the same type of. I think he's a Gronk-esque tight end.
I think for sure that whoever has that pick there, unless someone comes flying up to try to take J.J. McCarthy or something there, which would be crazy to me, I think Marvin Harrison Jr. ultimately gets taken.
Okay, so pick number 5. I will say this. The way that Harbaugh has made moves so far, the Chargers are at 5. The way he's made moves here, it feels like they're going to take a wide receiver, and which I believe would probably be Malik Neighbors. You could make a case for Odunze, the guy out of Washington as well.
Mm-hmm.
But if I'm Harbaugh, I've said all along, Harbaugh's the type of guy who builds from the trenches. That's kind of what he does. And maybe they will take a wide receiver, but if I'm the Chargers here, I wouldn't have gotten rid of Mike Williams. I would have gotten rid of old Keenan Allen, who gets injured all the time. I would have kept Mike Williams. Regardless, they got rid of both of them. This is such a deep wide receiver class. And if Marvin Harrison is there, I could see, okay, if we're at 5 and Marvin Harrison's there, they're going to take him. Right.
He's gonna be there.
But if he's not there, which more than likely he won't be, because the Cardinals will probably take him if the Patriots don't, then at that point, to me, I don't know how much difference there is between Neighbors and wide receiver 5. There's a difference, don't get me wrong. I just don't know how big the gap is. To me, I think you have to take Joe Alt here. It's been proven that offensive lines are what are so important to winning Super Bowls other than behind quarterback. That's probably the most important thing, right? If you have a elite quarterback, look at Tom Brady. Tom Brady turned, I know he's the greatest of all time, but he turned, wide receivers who were no names into stars. With the exception of Randy Moss, he never had a damn wide receiver to throw to who came in as a bona fide star. What did he have? He had an offensive line. And the way Harbaugh builds, it's from the trenches. To me, Joe Alt's by far the best offensive lineman. It's not close.
Joe Alt's the best offensive lineman to come out in the last 5 years.
Exactly. And to me, it's really hard. You're going to get a guy who in the NFL you're going to keep forever. Wide receivers sometimes become disgruntled and leave. We've seen it with Stephon Diggs. They're divas. How often do you see a guy who a team wants to keep that's a big offensive lineman that doesn't keep them the whole career? Look at Zach Martin, right, for the Cowboys, or Travis Frederick, who had to retire. But they keep those guys long term unless you just don't want to pay them anymore because of the talent level isn't there or they're falling off.
Yeah.
But if you want to keep that guy, you are going to keep him. There's not going to be an upset offensive lineman in this league. Okay, so to me, you take Joe Alt here if you're the Chargers. You build it that way. You got to protect Justin Herbert. Look at all the injuries he got last year. You just have to. You have to protect him. That should be priority number 1. I get it if Marvin Harrison Jr. is there, you can take him. You take Joe Alt here. And you do not, I heard people saying that if Marvin Harrison goes before this, that they could trade out of this pick. That would be really, really stupid. The only way I would see them trading out of this pick, actually, I don't see it, because I think if Marvin Harrison or Alt is there, you take one of them. You have to.
Alt, in my opinion, is the right pick there.
Yeah.
Not to mention Alt's father was an All-Pro as well.
Yeah.
So you get somebody that's been around the league. It's like Marvin Harrison Jr. effect. with his father. But yeah, Joel's the right pick. 6 here with the New York Giants. I like Jalen Hyatt, speed demon out of Bailey's favorite school, the University of Tennessee. I think he has potential to be good. I'm not rolling the dice. Listen, I think Neighbors or Dunze are going to be good. I'm taking Brock Bowers, number 6 here. Get the best tight. I think Brock Bowers is fucking awesome. I think he's going to have an awesome NFL career. I think he can get, right away, maybe a top, he has potential to be a top 5 tight end of the game. And I think Jalen Hyatt is, fast enough, decent enough to take the top end off the defense, and being able to have Bowers to throw to. I like that there. Now, let me say this. If you wouldn't have taken Joe Alt, I would have taken Joe Alt there.
See, and that's my question to you is because the Giants are so bad on the offensive line.
But if that's what I'm saying. If Joe Alt's there, which he very well may be, then I'm taking him 100%. Right. They have to shore up the offensive line.
Right.
These people are like, oh, they're taking a receiver. I'm like, dude, if Joe Alt's there, I'm 100% taking him in from the Giants. But since you took him, I'm taking Brock Bowers.
Interesting. I'm curious. I just remember us talking early when we started the podcast about how that was maybe the worst offensive line we've ever seen.
No, that's what I'm saying. But I'm not. Who's the next offensive lineman they have going at 14? The kid from Oregon State.
That's who they have going.
Yeah, at number 14, that's the next tackle off the board. I think that's too big of a shot. Now, if you want to, this is an opportunity right here for the Giants. If they want to trade out of that pick to someone who wants to come up and take a quarterback, if someone's sold on J.J. McCarthy and they can trade back to the, maybe it's the, whoever it is wants to come up and get him and you trade back in the first round, then you can, that would be a smart thing to do and shore up your offensive line. Shit, I'd take 2 offensive line.
They need to take
back to back.
They should take 4 in this draft. They should take 4. They should try to build an offensive line from the next 2 drafts.
Because the defense isn't bad.
No, it's not, and we can't know really. In all honesty, we don't really know what Daniel Jones is because he had one good year, and then last year it was just the line was so fucking bad. You just couldn't tell.
Agreed.
I'm not saying I'm not a big Daniel Jones guy. I never thought he was great, but he can't. It's unfair to assess him from last year.
I'm not a big Daniel Jones guy either, but the fact of the matter is, dude, it's the worst offensive line in the league. He has very little weapons to work with. I mean, what do you want the fucking guy to do? I don't think he's a top 15 quarterback or anything. I'm not saying that, but he's not as bad as this team makes him look.
No, because it's the rest of the team, and not Brian Daboll didn't do him any favors either this year. So if you take Brock Bowers at 6, at 7, I'm going to have to take, and I'm probably going to butcher the first name pronunciation. I'm going to take the offensive lineman, the tackle from Oregon State, who you just mentioned. Yeah. Talise Fuanga, who is the second-ranked tackle on the board, second-ranked overall offensive lineman. I think Pro Football Focus has him going later, but I just think that the Titans have to shore up their offensive line. I think that's important. Again, to me, I'm a big believer that the offensive line is the most important thing. I get it, but did they keep Hopkins? They did, right? And who else did they go get? They got somebody good. Got Cameron Ridley. So Calvin. God damn, what am I saying today? Y'all are getting. I don't think Alt's falling to y'all.
You're wishing you're getting Alt.
If he does fall to y'all. If
he's way better than Taylor Wong.
If Alt falls to the Titans, of course they'll take him. If not, they'll get this kid from Oregon State, who's still really good. But Titans have to build from the offensive line. They already have receivers. They hope to have their quarterback, and you're not drafting a quarterback here anyway. And so, they're not terrible on the defensive end. It's just a very easy pick. You're taking the best available offensive lineman for this mock draft. It's Fuanga. Okay, number 8, the Falcons. Who do you got?
I'm torn between 2 guys here. I guess I'm going to go with, I can't tell you the other guy, because I might take him with my next pick.
No, you do have
yes, I got one more.
Yeah, that's right.
I'm going to take the pride of Alabama, Dallas Turner here. They need an edge defender. I think I like him better than the other guy too. I mean they're gonna need some. The other interesting thing here is I wouldn't be shocked at knowing Atlanta, like if they have Drake London, and they have they got Mooney, but I wouldn't be shocked like if somehow Neighbors are Adunze's here and they want to add another receiver with Cousins and just try to make that offense just a juggernaut.
Right.
It wouldn't surprise me.
Right.
I wouldn't be surprised if they threw another receiver into the mix and got one of those guys. But their big need is an edge defender, and they have Dallas Turner rated behind him, but I like Dallas Turner. Dallas
Turner rated behind who?
Latu.
I
forgot where he went.
The guy who you can't pronounce his name. He went to UCLA.
Did he?
Yeah. But he's 10th in Pro Football Focus, and I think they had
Dallas Turner going 16 here. He's the next edge rusher. But man, anybody that plays for Coach Saban, they typically
agree with you,
especially on the defensive side of the ball. They tend to do pretty well in the league. So
I mean, I know Will Anderson was a freak, but look at Will Anderson. Literally, you can't. It's hard to go wrong with an Alabama defensive.
That's what I'm saying. Like, I mean, the metrics and what he does at the combine might jump off the page for the UCLA kid, but I'll take the Alabama kid playing in the SEC all day long.
It's actually interesting looking at Pro Football Focus and the top ranked guys. Georgia does not have a single defensive guy projected in the first round. That's actually pretty wild.
Yep.
You would think that they would, but Alabama's got 3. Anyway, all right, so pick number 9 is going to be the Bears again. I think this is simple. I think you just do exactly what the Cincinnati Bengals did. And you draft quarterback, wide receiver, back-to-back in the top 10. And I don't think, obviously, you're not going to take a guy from the same school like they did. But, I mean, like I said, this is a super deep draft. And so far on our board, everybody except Harrison is still available. So, in which case, I'm probably going to have to take Neighbors. You saw what he did at LSU this year with a good quarterback in Jaden Daniels. The guy is a freak athlete. He's big. He's strong. I think he's probably the second best receiver. Odunze's great, but the thing about Odunze that the reason I would go with Neighbors over Odunze is there were 3 NFL receivers on that team.
Yeah.
So it's just so hard to evaluate how good one of them is when it's really hard to defend all 3 of those guys, right? Like if you're having to scheme for 3 NFL style wide receivers, I forget the other one, McMillan and
I forget too.
There's a third one that started with a P. I forget.
It's
not Pittman. I can't remember his name. Anyway.
Yeah, I think I would take Neighbors over Odunze as well.
Yeah, so I'm going to go with Neighbors here, although I think Odunze will be good. I think he's going to be fine.
They have so for my next pick after that, they have it's the Jets right here at 10.
Jets at 10, yeah.
Pro Football Focus has them taking Brock Bowers, but Brock Bowers is off the board. I'm going to take Odunze. That's their listed as their top needs. They need receivers. So
and you pair a possible number 1 type guy with Garrett Wilson now. Yep. That's huge.
Yep.
That's huge.
Yep.
And obviously Aaron Rodgers fucked that whole organization by bringing fucking Randall Cobb and Alan Lazard over. And God, dude, I can't believe they catered to him. All right. I like that pick. That's a good pick.
I mean, I just think if he's there, which odds are he probably won't be, but he could be. He could be.
Yeah. Okay, last one. I'm going to do
the Cowboys, right?
Cowboys pick. Yeah.
Who do they have them taking here? Tackle.
Yeah.
And Pro Football Focus has them taking Graham Barton.
So I thought he was a center. Is he a tackle?
Oh, I don't know. It says tackle here.
Maybe he's a tackle.
No idea.
That's who I have them taking.
Oh, really?
Actually,
yeah.
Graham Barton. I'm not looking at Pro Football Focus.
That's funny, yeah. That's
I just think, again, I keep the same theme. Offensive linemen. Offensive linemen are important. The Cowboys have to protect Dak because Dak without any pressure is pretty solid. With pressure, very below average quarterback. And really looking at the rest of the team, like, who are you taking in a first round pick here? Like, you're not taking a running back, which is an area of need because we lost Pollard. So we're not going to take a running back this early. We don't need wide receivers at this point. I mean, could we get a wide receiver? Yes, but probably would more likely need an offensive lineman. Defensively, the area of concern for us was the secondary, but we're gonna get Diggs back from injury this year. So I just think that the biggest area of concern is we lost one to retirement. We lost Biotish, our center, to a trade or to a free agency. So to me, you got to take an offensive lineman here. I would take Graham Barton, and that would be my Cowboys pick. Knowing the Cowboys, they'll probably take a wide receiver here. And
they'll probably draft J.J. McCarthy.
That would actually be hilarious.
By the way, and he could turn up to be a great pro, but I've always wondered about this. And obviously, I guess an outlet like, Burrow before his season at LSU was supposed to be like, a 5th or 6th round pick before he just went bananas.
Yeah.
But okay, he broke every record in the book. And don't get me wrong, he had a fantastic offense, but they broke every scoring record, every total offense. It's I get why he went number 1 because he was just that good. McCarthy, I don't know. I'd have to look. But pre-ranked before the season, I think it was a 5th or 6th round pick. Don't get me wrong. He had a great season.
Yeah.
But that team was all about running the ball and being physical. And now they have him 9th overall to the Raiders. And I'm just okay, well, maybe, obviously Harbaugh's going to say all kinds of nice things about him. And I think he does like him. But I mean, it's one of those deals where is he really a top 10 pick in the NFL draft for handing the ball off all the time and making good play action throws to people? I mean, I don't know.
All you got to do is exist in that 3 seconds between the snap and you getting Booby the ball. All right,
that's right.
We've been blessed. We got a runner. No, but I agree. It's we've talked about this on the show the last couple of weeks. I don't understand he must have really good pro days, or a pro day, and he must have had a good I don't know if he went. Did he throw at the combine? I don't know.
Not sure.
Regardless, whatever workouts he's been doing, he must look really good. He must be really good in interviews because he just continues to shoot up draft boards. I know he got projected as high as 5 at one point.
It's just a classic QB lottery, though. It's trying to catch lightning.
Yeah, if you're right.
If you're right,
franchise.
Changes your franchise. So it's guys are willing to, go 1st round picks.
Especially
this one, this mock draft is Pro Football Focus, obviously, but it said it has the Broncos trading up to 3. Okay, this is all make believe to take Jaden Daniels, and it has the Patriots at 12, and it has the Patriots drafting Michael Penix Jr. at 12.
Yeah, that's just crazy.
That's what I'm saying. I mean, they're usually, not to say that the exact trade's going to happen, but they're usually pretty accurate on where these guys are going to go. So now Penix, who was all year, maybe a 4th or 5th round pick, he's going in the top 15. Well, it's just insane.
And he even so after the Texas game, everybody was I think he's a 1st round pick. And then after the fucking Michigan game, everybody was he's definitely not a 1st round pick.
Yeah.
And now he's back to being a top 15 pick.
Yeah.
What the fuck? I mean, come on. I do want to mention one more thing that I am impressed. Cooper DeJean, the kid from Iowa?
Yeah.
We might actually have a white corner in the NFL.
What round is he supposed to get drafted
He's
in?
ranked, I don't know what round, but he is ranked 8th on Pro Football Focus's top 10 draft prospects. He's a top 10 prospect.
Here he is, number 17 overall.
Yeah, he's going to go in the first round.
White cornerback.
Now, they might move into safety.
Things are looking up.
They might
Things are looking up.
When all those guys on YouTube play that white versus black game that they've been doing, now they'll actually
have a white cornerback.
Yeah, they won't have to just move wide receivers and linebackers.
They don't have to move Harrison. They don't have to move Harrison Smith to corner. That's hysterical. Yeah, well, I knew that kid was good. I had no idea he was top 10
he's that good.
Prospect good.
That's the kid who returned the punt. That's the other thing. He's going to be a special teams guy. He'll be a punt returner, kick returner, which now is actually going to be important with the new rule. But he returned that kick against Minnesota. That should have been a touchdown.
Oh, yeah.
That got called back. Yeah, that legendary one. All right. Maybe we'll do some sort of live reaction to the draft on Thursday or something for the first round if you're available. I don't know. But that wasn't a vote of confidence there. He did not look
no, I just don't know. Definitely could be.
Okay. Let's talk real quick. A few more things before we get out of here. My Texas Longhorns had their spring game this weekend. And guess who, Turner, looked like a stud out there? His name is Arch Manning. And the chosen one,
it's a damn shame Texas is only going to get him for 1 year.
The star child, who is for some reason not the fucking starter, goes 19-26 for 355 yards and 3 touchdowns. He had 3 40-plus yard touchdown passes, including a go-ahead touchdown pass late in the game that really should have been the game-winning touchdown, but then they gave up a touchdown the other way and lost by 1. But he was phenomenal And Quinn Ewers, on the other hand, played one series, and on his second fucking throw, threw a pick six. So it did. I honestly wonder if they didn't play Quinn more than a series, because if they both played against each other and Arch won the game, it's like, it to me feels like Sark is purposely trying the last 2 years to not have them compete because he's afraid Arch is going to beat Quinn Ewers, which makes zero sense.
I think last year that wasn't necessarily the case. I don't think Arch was quite ready, but this year I bet it is, because he didn't want a quarterback controversy. Because if Quinn comes out and doesn't play well the first 2 games, everybody would be calling, let's see Arch, and he doesn't want to deal with that.
Which is stupid. He should have just told Quinn to leave and go to the pros or go get
shit. In this draft, Quinn may have gone top. Well, I would say he could have gone top 15. I mean, he definitely could have been rated
he's got a better arm than McCarthy.
But I will say this. We just talked about next year's draft. It probably makes way more sense waiting for next year.
That's why he stayed, because there's nobody in next year's draft. Yeah. But, dude, it just doesn't make any sense. Like, if I am Steve Sarkisian, and I know what he's thinking. He's thinking that Arch, as in his first year, is not going to win a title, and he wants to try to compete for a championship this year. But it just makes no sense, because you have this guy who, regardless of what anyone says, I still believe is a transcendent talent. And you're going to sit him for 2 full years. And then if he is good enough that third year, you're going to get him for 1 year? 1 year, and then he's gone. I mean, why? Why would you rather have, you either get Quinn Ewers for 2 years and you have a chance at maybe going to the Final Four and no chance at winning a title, or you have, Manning for 2 years, where the first year, probably there's some growing pains. There's a chance that you don't make the 12-team playoffs, but more than likely the second year, you're maybe one of, if not top 2 favorite to win the national title. I just think you get him the year of experience instead of throwing him in the fire in his third year. I will say this. This is the truth. Quinn Ewers every year has missed at least has missed at least 2 games. He will go down to injury this year. It happens every year. He's fragile. He gets hit. Arch will come into the game for a full game. Arch Manning will start a game this year. And if he has a good start, it's going to be a real interesting deal then, because there's no way Quinn's making it through a whole full season. And I'm interested to see what happens there.
I mean, he'll definitely, I'm with you. Quinn usually does get hurt.
Isaiah Bond was phenomenal too. He had 3 catches for 97 yards. Awesome. Yeah, he was really good. Scotty Scheffler wins the RBC Heritage. It is his 4th tournament win in 5 starts. This is getting pretty ridiculous. It's like, I understand his odds are kind of crazy in what they're pricing him to win these tournaments, but it's just like, he seems to just continue to do it. I mean, 4 out of 5 is absurd for a golfer.
Yeah, right? I mean, I think I said it a couple weeks ago or whatever. I mean, as long as he putts well, he's going to win.
Right.
I mean, it's kind of that simple. He's better from tee to green than everybody by a pretty wide margin. So if he does make putts, he will win. So when he wasn't winning and he was getting like these seconds or winning one and then, a couple second thirds, and like you would look and it was like, yeah, he gave up 12 shots to the field in putting this week. And he lost by like 2. And you're like, oh my God. As soon as he starts making putts, it's going to be bad news for everybody else. And that's what's happening.
At the Houston Open, which is the one tournament he didn't win the last 5 starts, didn't he get second and he missed a putt that would have forced a playoff, and it was like a 4-foot putt or something?
It was, 5.5 feet. But yeah, he did miss it. Yeah.
If he makes that putt, he probably wins 5
I'm happy for Steven Yeager, because he was a guy that had never won and been on tour forever. And he, I think all day, he was just under so much pressure. He made nothing but pars all day and had like a 5-shot lead. And then I was watching the little the shot tracker of it, and on 18, I was like, oh, this is coming down to the wire. And I looked at it, I was like, oh God, Scotty hit it to 5 feet. Poor Yeager's going to lose in a playoff, and he missed it. And Yeager was just, it was good for old Steven Yeager, who's never won a damn
How old
thing.
is that guy?
Oh, at 30s.
Okay. So he's been on tour for a long time.
Yeah, I think he's 30s. Let's click and look. Yeah, anyway, regardless, he's been on tour a while.
Right. Trying to look at some other things. Oh, you're going to like this. I do want to give my dumbass of the week, which, by the way, Caitlin Clark got drafted number 1 overall. Everybody knew it was going to happen. Actually, one of the teammates from Iowa got drafted in the first round, I believe, or maybe it was the second round. Kate Martin got drafted.
They have 2 rounds of the WNBA
They have
draft?
3 rounds because there's 12 teams.
Look at Bailey correcting me real quick. He throws up a 3. You're
you're
pathetic.
I just
Bailey.
said it too. We both.
You're both fucking pathetic. Can't name all the teams. It's like the WNBA draft has 3 rounds.
Do we need a mute button for Turner when he starts saying offensive things to us? I think so. Bailey said he doesn't sound like that. Well, I will say this.
Fuck you, Bailey. You don't have a mic. What are you going to do about it?
Not yet. Bailey, as long as Bailey's on my side with the big dog.
Oh, that's all that matters.
Dylan feud. That's all
Turner's
I care
about. Turner's team big dog.
Turner's a snake. He's a snake. and one of not just like a little slithering garden snake. He's like a fucking rattlesnake, and he rattles and he tells you he's gonna do it, and then he does it. Stabs you in the back. I'm one of his best friends, and he is on Team Big Dog. How dare
Team Big Dog.
All right.
Fucking genius, that guy.
My dumbass of the week, though, goes to Antonio Brown. And did y'all see this with Caitlin Clark? He went crazy on
that poor guy's nuts.
No, he literally is. He went absolutely.
No, it's CTE at its finest. I mean, that's all that is. He's crazy.
He said, and I'm not exaggerating. So she was wearing, she was all dressed up for the draft and everything, and all those girls dressed up and wore designer stuff, and it's like the guys do the same.
You're not gonna believe this. I didn't watch it.
You did watch it?
I said you're not gonna believe this.
No, he said he did watch it, right? We all heard it.
Did not watch it.
I actually believe if you go check his YouTube TV, he's got it recorded on there. He's been rewatching it all week.
But please break down the fashion of the WNBA draft for me.
Can I please continue on my dumbass of the week?
Sorry. Go ahead.
But he essentially he tweeted out, I guess, after a picture of this interview she did, and he said, and I quote, "Caitlin Clark looks like she keep it hairy." That's what he said. And then he said, when his post went viral, he followed it up with, "She looks like she keeps it hairy." Repeated, "When did Bush become a bad thing? Did we cancel the Bush? Make Bushes great again." And then tweeted out a picture. This is the picture he tweeted out there. But it's he's lost his mind. Caitlin Clark, I think he was adding her on Twitter too. And people were destroying of him.
That's the power couple America needs right there. Caitlin Clark and Antonio Brown. That'd be something.
But it made
What do you think, Bailey?
But it made no sense. Why was he tweeting this out at her? And then Caitlin blocked him on Twitter and said, and she didn't respond to anything. She was like, "I've had enough of this abuse," and then tweeted a picture of her. You've been blocked by Caitlin Clark, or Caitlin Clark blocking Antonio Brown, and he tweeted back, "Cracker of the day, blocked by cousin it." That's what he said. He's lost his fucking mind, dude. He will not be alive in 10 years because he's got CTE. He's gonna rob a convenience store, or he's gonna shoot himself, or he's gonna drive off a cliff. The guy has lost his fucking mind. This is one of the most well-liked people in sports. Caitlin Clark is, and he's going at her and starts saying that she has a hairy bush. Are you kidding me? What the fuck? I mean, it's the weirdest thing, and I guarantee you he's getting canceled for this already. Not that he gives a fuck, but look, I'm all for freedom of speech, but at this time you're just being a fucking dickhead. And obviously he's the most. What's funny is more people know who Caitlin Clark is than Antonio Brown. She is way more famous than he is. He's a loser who everybody sees as this crazy guy who tried to take.
He was a pretty good receiver for a while.
But nobody remembers that. Nobody will remember that.
I remember that he was pretty good.
I remember him.
He was the number 1 fantasy player one year.
I remember him swimming in a pool with his dick out and tweeting a picture of it. I mean, that's the type of shit that I remember. That's more memorable to me than a couple good seasons where he was a good receiver. But
I mean, I don't remember that, but I believe he did it.
I mean, he did a ton of shit.
Well, I'm glad that we wrapped the show up with that. That is, you're filling in for Big Dog over there with your stories. But are you allowed to say Harry Bush on YouTube, or are we going to get banned?
I mean, I'm quoting Antonio Brown. Am I saying, what do you mean? I'm shitting on Antonio Brown for being the biggest dumbass of the week for doing this.
No, I mean, he's a dumbass. There's no doubt. I mean, I just don't know.
My dad talked about throwing midgets at a fucking dartboard.
That's family friendly, dude. And that's family friendly stuff. Is it not, Bailey? Please.
I mean, I'm just, Twitter
no, I'm just kidding. Antonio Brown's a nutball.
Fucking unbelievable.
He's crazy, but he was hell of a receiver.
Hell of a receiver. I don't care about his receiver.
Let's go look up his stats. Let me remind you. Antonio Brown has something to say about this.
I don't care what Antonio Brown.
Yeah, he does. See, Bailey remembers that he can kick.
That's actually hilarious. Yeah, that's actually wild. I can't believe that. Wait, now he tweeted something. Oh shit. Paige Beckers was the cracker of the day today.
Nice.
Yeah.
I'm glad he's going after women's basketball at least. At least he's got that figured out.
Oh, my God. What the heck? But only after the white ones. What is he saying? Baller. He said, I don't know. It says cracker of the day. #CTESPN. Baller at Paige Beckers won NIL deal. And then it has a little arrow going to the right and says soon. I don't understand that whatsoever. That makes zero sense to me.
No, none of the stuff he tweets makes sense, I don't think.
How many followers does he have? 1.8 million?
Probably a lot because people want to see what he's got. I mean, because he just says crazy shit.
It actually is. And now with Elon running Twitter, nobody will get banned for saying. I mean, he could literally spout hate speech on there and nothing would happen. Yeah, it's go ahead.
No, I got nothing. I'm glad Antonio Brown's living his best life on the internet.
Oh, apparently now he tweeted even the fact that even after getting blocked, he said, "I'll say it again. This season, women's college basketball greater than men's college basketball. Caitlin Clark should be drafted in the NBA. Star power and women's basketball this season greater than men's basketball. Angel Reese versus Caitlin Clark. A movie cut emoji. Juju and Paige locked in for next season. #CTESPN, which I don't know what that is. It's like a play on words. CTE
Yeah, I guess he's saying he has CTE, and then
he legitimately believes that it was a compliment to her, and that's exactly like literally like you have a nice bush. Is that what he's trying to say?
Oh my God!
He then tweeted out a picture of Caitlin Clark next to George W. Bush, like a split screen of them. Dude, he went crazy on Twitter on here.
It's kind of creative, honestly.
He's
Caitlin Clark next to George W.
Apparently, AB and Tyreek Hill did a podcast together.
Now that's must watch right there.
Yeah,
those are two guys that.
Oh my God,
got a couple domestic abuse under their belt. Those two,
dude. We'll get off AB, but I'm just scrolling through his tweets.
Those guys are lunatics. Oh yeah, I know who he is. Yeah.
You know, he used to be like super fat, but he lost a bunch of weight. And it says he's dating Ruby Rose. I don't know who that is, but somebody tweeted, "No way, Drewski and Ruby Rose are confirmed to be dating." And then AB tweeted out, "Ozempic making dreams come true." #CTESPN.
Oh my God! Did you know that yesterday on TNT after that game or before the game, Shaq and Charles were going at it because Charles,
like for real?
No, just like yelling at each other. But he's like, "Get your fat ass in the gym, Chuck." And he goes, or no, Chuck goes, "Get your fat ass in the gym." Shaq goes, "At least I don't cheat like you, Ozempic." Or he's taking drugs, and Kenny and them are just dying laughing. He's like, "No, I don't cheat. That's Ozempic's cheat." And he goes, "You take that other one that's just the same thing, Chuck." He goes, "You didn't work out a day in your life. You cheating." And and they were just yelling at each other. That's must-watch TV.
It's actually
they're much better than the games.
They're not better than the games, but they're entertaining.
Oh, way better than the games.
That is hilarious that people are actually taking that fucking drug. Literally, it's like super expensive too, and insurance will only cover like a year of it or a couple months. People are fucking taking it like just for that month or two, and they'll lose like 30 fucking pounds because they don't want to eat. I just don't want to live like that. I would never want to do that. I don't even care if I was 500 fucking pounds. I wouldn't fucking take it. Anyway, all right. Anything on the NHL playoffs? We got a couple more games to know. I mean,
they're just heating up. Series are just getting started. Probably most intriguing series is Boston and the Maple Leafs. The Maple Leafs are perennial chokers. Never get out of haven't won a Stanley Cup in, I don't know, 70 years, something crazy. I'm making up the number, but it's literally been since like the 50s or 60s, I think. So.
Oh, I almost forgot. We can close with this.
Yep.
How did we miss this? Our San Antonio Brahmas. They are now 3-1.
What a
tied
team.
for the second best record in the UFL. Best record of any UFL team in Texas. And yes, there is more than just the Brahmas. There are 3 UFL Texas teams, Arlington and Houston, and then San Antonio. We won again. We're 3-1. And we, I believe, are second in our conference because we lost to the Battlehawks and we're tied with them both at 3-1. Looking at the whole league, the Stallions won again this week. Birmingham Stallions, they are 4-0.
They're supposed to be the best team, right?
They won the championship last year. They're trying to repeat once again. And so then they won. The Battlehawks, who lost game 1, won their 3rd in a row. And then we had I believe the Houston Roughnecks got their first win of the year. They played the Arlington Renegades and beat them. Arlington's the only winless team left now because both Houston and Arlington were winless. Did Bailey Showboats lost again? Who'd they lose to?
Showboats are shit.
I
Just
think,
like every other team from Tennessee.
I think the Showboats got beat by somebody not great. It must have been, maybe it was the Battlehawks because I think Birmingham played the DC
I'm gonna get you a Showboat jersey, Bailey.
Yeah, they lost to the Battlehawks.
I'll get you one.
Is
he on the Showboats?
Oh, I forgot the AAF. That's right. They had that league. What was that? The American?
He was electric.
Of
course he was. It's Johnny Football.
What was he on the? What league was the AAF? American something? American Alliance? Oh, American Alliance.
Oh yeah. Well,
yeah.
We had that team here. We were the Commanders, and the Commanders stole our name.
What the fuck?
You don't remember that? Like
they
3
stole
years
our
ago?
name?
They should have fucking paid us for that shit.
I
don't think they did, but
that's what we should do.
We were the San Antonio Commanders.
We should just go buy up a bunch of website names that people would want to buy.
We're late to the party at that point. And yes, that did happen. We're a little bit.
No, we should do that now.
We're late to the party.
Like we'll buy.
There was some guy that literally had 20 names for because he knew that the Redskins are gonna have to change their name, and he did. Washington, whatever, like the Washington Red Foxes, the Washington Wolves. He did like 20 of them. And legitimately, I think they were going to be the Washington Wolves, like the Red Wolves or the Wolves. And they didn't want to pay that because the guy wanted an ungodly amount of money for the website. And they're like, no, okay, we're just going to be the Commanders, I think.
Oh, man. He should have just been like, okay, I'll come down, I'll do $1 million.
But that was, I don't know that I know that guy had that many different website names, but I don't know if that's why they went with Commanders or not. But it was a Washington football team, then it was the Commanders. But he had a lot of different websites.
Well,
URLs. Yeah,
Alliance of American Football League. Okay,
we had the Commanders.
That's what it was called.
Bring it back, baby.
All right. So,
guys, you're going to want to tune in next week. Big Dog has made the promise of a big, big production. He wanted me to let America know. Dylan might try to cut it out of the podcast.
Not might. I will cut it out. He will never be on the show again.
He
wants to destroy the show. He wants this show to fail. That's what he wants. So he can take the set over. He acted like he bought this.
Can I ask you a question? Can we... Maybe we should release the unseen footage of the 10-minute rant with the glove that you had to cut from last episode.
Man, I don't know about that.
It really is funny. I went back and watched that because he was like, it's so funny. You have to go watch it. So I went back, and it's so funny where he just starts talking, and he puts on the glove, and it goes, beep, and then it goes to me, and it's like, I don't think we can put that on the line.
Like, I doubt. He's like, I highly doubt Dylan will ever let this see the light of day. But...
We're gonna put it behind.
I like that.
It would be hilarious to have a Big Dog behind the page while sell his stuff for $1. Yeah.
Shit. No, I actually agree. That would be hilarious. But
the KK Wild fans would probably pay for it. Wes has got to go to the bathroom.
Wes is waking up. Well, it's good.
Sign us off.
Good timing. We will be back next week, and remember, we need to get some comments on here if you want to have a chance at a jersey. So. Comment on our video. Thank you guys for tuning in to our 30th episode as we continue to build our podcast and our show. and enjoy the NBA playoffs. We've got games tonight all week. We'll be back next Monday to recap everything in the NBA, NHL, and we'll talk about the NFL draft. Maybe we'll be doing a live react to the NFL draft. We'll see. But thanks for tuning in. We will catch you guys next time.